mental health doesn't mean avoiding things that are challenging. It means facing them head on. So I definitely did not plan for the first video on my channel to be a relatively unedited, off-the-cuff video. But life had other ideas. This morning, I was putting the final touches on my outline for the video that I was going to do. It's beautiful. It has well thought out arguments. Excuse me. Research citations, the whole nine. And then I had to take my dog to the emergency vet. And I was there all day, and I only just got back. I do not have time to finish that video and put it up today, but I did say that I was going to start my channel today, and I did not want to break that commitment. So here I am talking about how I think that a major feature of good mental health is being able to adapt when things go wrong. And this is something that I really struggled with. I was thinking about it today because I was really stressed when I had to drop everything. You know, not only because I was attached to my original plans, but because, you know, the last time I took a dog to the vet with similar symptoms, she didn't come home with me. So it wasn't like the happiest thought that I might take my dog to the vet and not come home with him. He is fine, by the way, at least as far as we can tell. But it wasn't the easiest thing. And the me of the past, like 5 years ago, I think would have just had a breakdown. Because I would have had these conflicting priorities, and I wouldn't have wanted to make a decision on which one was the most important. Even though, of course, my dog is more important than my work, but I would have felt also this strange, because 5 years ago, just as for context, so 5 years ago, I was in the beginning of some serious personal growth. I was in the beginning of my recovery from the beginning? No, not the beginning. 5 years ago. Oh no, it was more than 5 years ago. So like 7 years ago is when I would have had a really hard time with this, because I was like right in the beginning of DBT as my recovering from borderline personality disorder. And I had swung from the direction of being very outwardly lashing out with a lot of my behavior to being a little bit people-pleasing. And so, although I got a little bit better about being less aggressive with people, I would get into these weird situations where I would feel very stuck because there would be something that I wanted to do, but other people that I didn't want to let down, and I would just kind of implode. You know, so like today it was like, well, I made a promise to my, at the moment, small audience, and, you know, even if only one person is waiting for this video at this time, like I have to do it, but the dog, and what do I do? You know, that's the kind of thing that would have totally laid me out 7 years ago. I think part of it is, you know, I can't say this is this way for everybody, but I think part of it is also like, it's hard to be willing to, this is maybe not a thing that people want to hear, but I'm going to say it. If you make a decision, you're responsible for the decision. And so sometimes I think people avoid difficult situations so that they don't have to make decisions, and then they don't have to feel responsible. Not everybody, but I definitely have had that problem in the past. And you know, today it was definitely not the easiest to face, having to take the dog and you know, potentially being told that there was something wrong with him, but I was able to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have like the strongest, best mental health in the world. I still have, out of the host of various diagnoses I still have 2 active ones: ADHD and premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And premenstrual dysphoric disorder, let me tell you, gives me some wild mood stuff. Thankfully, most of the skills that I learned from managing borderline personality disorder come in handy there, but it's a little bit different because it's less situational. Um, anyway, I'm getting besides the point. So I'm not saying that I have like the best mental health ever, but a major feature that tells me that I am working towards good mental health overall is that I was able to do this situation today and not be a complete mess. Now, did I cry the whole way to the vet's office? Yes, I did. I did. I will admit. I cried the whole way to the vet's office. But I think we live in, and I mentioned this in my little intro clip, that we live in a world with 30-second video clips that can not necessarily tell the whole story. I think, like, okay, people say things like, protect your peace and boundaries, but then they often follow it up with, like, if someone does this, or if a situation is like this, then you should cut them off, set a boundary, walk away, insert sort of cut and dry black or white thing here. And while I do think we have to be mindful of where we put our time and energy and who we spend our time with, we often deprive ourselves of the opportunity to grow to handle more difficult situations. I mean, it's not like I was able to handle the situation with the dog today because I just simply had some mystical skills. I was able to handle this situation because I practiced it in other situations. Right? Like, and maybe I'm just missing something here when people are having these conversations that seem so black or white, but I think we have to be careful that in our pursuit of health, we're not accidentally erecting prisons around us that just have a different name. Right? Like, I don't know if there's anything I could do in my life realistically to avoid all the situations where I'm gonna have to change things last minute. Right? It's not, whatever the reason is that I may struggle with some of these changes, doesn't really change the fact that I can't avoid having to deal with them. And I feel better about myself when I have the tools to deal with it. So, what did I do today? Well, I said to myself, self, I said, yeah. I said, I know you're kind of disappointed you didn't get to do the video you wanted to do. And I said, yes. Yes, I'm pretty disappointed. I was very excited about it. And I said, well, but you're glad you took your dog to the vet, dog to the vet, right? And I said, yes. Yes, self, I am. But what do I do about this video? And I said, well, you have your phone, you have your camera, just talk about something else. And I said, what if people don't like it? And it's like, well, this is the consequence of not maybe setting more time for yourself and accounting for things potentially going wrong. This is an area of growth and learning for you, isn't it? And I said, I hate that I keep learning this same lesson over and over and over and over again. Thanks, ADHD. However, that's the thing I've learned. Right? I didn't avoid this situation. I faced it and I was like, oh gosh, you know what, Zanny? You could be better at planning in advance. I've got an ADHD, we're all over the place. I did not eat a lot today either, so my brain is definitely running on fumes. I ate when I got home, but it's going to take a while for that to kick in. Y'all know how it goes. So this is not the strongest video that I could have started with, and it's hard. Maybe this is another important aspect of today too, is that, like, we who's we when we say this. I have been very perfectionistic, and I know a lot of other people who have also been very perfectionistic. And the challenge with that is that you're just not going to get that much time where you can actually be, well, depends on your standards. For some people, they're never actually perfect. And for others, you know, like in my case, I've found that I've set a lot of standards for myself where, like, even this video, you know, the fact that I'm hungry, the fact that it's hard for me to put thoughts together, there's a part of me that's like, this is just not worth showing to anyone. Because why? Why would they watch it? You don't totally make a lot of sense right now. And yeah, it's not like the absolute best thing I could put out there. But it is still something. And it's not always true that something is better than nothing. You know, I am I am sorry. This is not the best thing that I could do, and I'm genuinely sorry about that. Um, you know, there's a part of me that wants to say, well, my dog, da. But the truth is that I have been planning this channel for a long time. I could have really been vigilant about making sure that I got this done at least several days in advance, and I didn't do that. But I know that now. Well, I keep relearning this, right? As I've said. Am I talking in circles? I might be talking in circles. Ooh, this is uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable. I feel like in a way, this is like my exposure therapy to you all, to showing you my unedited, unfiltered side. It's extremely embarrassing. Because I don't know if you know this as a tangent. I have another show called The BPD Bunch, and for all of those episodes, we have lists of questions in advance. So I don't usually script out what I'm going to say word for word, but I have concrete thoughts already planned before I start talking. And even here, I thought I had some concrete thoughts, but this is like not my optimal time of day. I usually film in the morning when my brain is at 100% capacity. But filming this video and putting it up, even though it's not the absolute best that I could do, is the best solution I had available to me, given where I was, to solve the problem of still posting a video today. And that's not something I would have done before. I would have just said, I didn't do it, so just gonna throw it all out. So what can you learn from the difficult situations that you're in? What are some of the things that you can face and try to learn something from? I am going to use the fact that I am so embarrassed about being this unedited, unfiltered as motivation to be more prepared in advance next time, because the fact that I normally have like some amount of makeup on. Like, this is so uncomfortable. But again, it's the best solution I had to the problem, and my dog is okay, and that's really more important than anything. So hope this made sense. If it didn't make sense, I sincerely apologize. At least now you have a window into the inner workings of my brain, should you choose to follow this channel. So what I would like from all of you, anyone watching, let me know if you have questions, specific questions that you want me to talk about. If anything I said didn't make sense, please just ask me and I will write back in a comment, because I've been talking for 14 minutes at this point, so I'll just wrap this up by saying that being able to come up with solutions and react instead of, or not react, being able to come up with solutions and adapt when things don't go according to plan is a big part of developing good mental health. And I just want to point out that it's a process. I think sometimes when we think of flexibility and adapting, our brains go to like the most extreme case of someone immediately being like, ooh, I can handle that problem. I got this. And I mean, there are people like that. And I think there are definitely some situations where I've even had moments like that, but that's not going to happen all the time. You know, like the past 4 days, I'm not going to go into details, but have been pretty stressful. And I definitely was running on emotional and mental fumes by the time I was dealing with the dog today. So I didn't, I wasn't like, yes, I've got this, right? Like, it took me a second to get there. And I still got there. I cannot stress enough that having emotions and not being perfect is a part of being human. And I know that we know that, but we don't know that. And that's evidenced by how people make content. If you do this, then this. Simple, contextless mush. Sounds nice, but it doesn't mean a lot in practice. So, till next time.